gentlemen, hello and welcome back to another action-packed episode of This is Jay's Big Book of Movies, where my quest is to find the best movies in the land to put into my big book of movies. What is the big book? The Big Book of Movies is a personal collection of films I feel should be immortalized for what they are. What does it take to get into the big book? That's what we do every Saturday to find out. Well, it is the final weekend before Halloween. I am doing a little horror movie type of thing in celebration of Halloween. I'm never going to do a themed month again because this is too damn difficult because there's a lot of corny movies just because of a holiday. So, to finish it off, I didn't want to go to the obvious picks like Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween, but I am going to go for a fan favorite that everyone does know about. I'm talking about Children of the Corn. Children of the Corn was released on March 9th, 1984, and is directed by Fritz Kirsch. IMDb states that a young couple is trapped in a remote town where a dangerous religious cult of children believes everyone over the age of 18 must be killed. Once again, I agree with that premise, so let's get things started. Starting off at the top, I give the rewatch factor for Children of the Corn a 4. This is a classic movie, and it's more about the suspense as opposed to the actual action of the movie, and I feel with all the commercial breaks and whatnot, you're going to lose that on TV. And there's really not a lot of graphic nature to the film. I just feel with all those interruptions, it won't be as enjoyable. So I definitely give this rewatch factor a 4 that once you see it, it's going to be one of your favorite movies. Storyline gets a 4. It's just a couple steps below a 5. You know, Stephen King wrote this, and you know, his stories are just crazy awesome. So, you know, you get the seal of approval for that one. As far as everything else, I mean, this was a really cool storyline, and there's really no way to dissect it. It's just good all around. So, 4 for a storyline. The same thing that I've always said about characters in a horror movie, they get a 3. One thing that I was particularly irritated about is the woman that went on to become Sarah Connor was so flimsy and dainty and girly in this movie. And I'm just like, you know, you're supposed to be a badass boss, but, you know, you kind of went the other side of the road with this. Other than that, I really don't have a problem with the characters. Once again, this is a film where a lot of the actors are children. So I'm not saying children don't deserve Academy Awards, but kids are going to act like kids, and there are cast to act like kids. So you really couldn't... I didn't feel that you could really sympathize with the characters. You're more worried about of what the hell the thing that walks behind the corn was, as opposed to really sympathizing with the characters. So because it went so fast, you really couldn't get into depth with the characters. I give them a 3. Appearance-wise, this is an 80s movie. This is when in 1984. And appearance gets a 3. It looks like it's made in 1984. The feel of it is 1984. It's definitely an 80s movie. So I'm not punishing it because it's an 80s movie, but it looks like a product of its time. So it's going to get a 3. That it can't pass for something that goes on today because it looks like it was made 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Finally, we have Enjoyment. Enjoyment definitely gets a 5. Now, this movie is just a little bit younger than I am, and I still love it. I still love watching it, even in the 2000s. It's really hard for a movie to have this lasting impact nowadays, you know. There are some movies that are on their way, but I mean, it's just like Children of the Corn is one of those movies that you know and you love. I have not met someone who was like, Children of the Corn, oh, that movie sucked. So definitely I give Children of the Corn a 5. And if not then I would debate that individual. Well, this was kind of a quick show because the scores were kind of concrete. So with that being said, we have the rewatch factor being a 4, the storyline being a 4, the characters being a 3, the appearance being a 3, and the enjoyment being a 5. And altogether, that is a score of a 19, and that 19 equals a B. I'm surprised it didn't get an A. But I feel that the appearance and the acting of the two categories, which both got a 3, which kept it from getting an A. I wouldn't move the characters up, and I wouldn't move the appearance up. So with all that being said, the big question is, does Children of the Corn get into the big book of movies? I'm not even going to have you wait forever for me to say something and say how it should be in the big book and how it shouldn't be in the big book, or if it got into the big book. I'm just going to cut to the chase and not say all this mediocre shit in between. Yes, it gets into the big book of movies. It's an awesome film. And it will stand the seeds of time, but not look like it does. Well, that's all it here on Mr. J's Big Book of Movies. You can catch me here every Saturday for new episodes. You can listen to my movie review podcast, Eye for an Eye with Mr. J, available on Google Play, Apple Podcast, and Stitcher. You could follow our Facebook fan page at I4Mr. You could follow our Twitter page at I4Ni, spelled just like the podcast. You could email me anytime, anywhere, mws_216@yahoo.com. And most importantly, below, comment, subscribe. I love hearing those film requests from you guys because you guys help make this show what it is. As far as I'm concerned, this chapter is now closed.